All right. Welcome to episode 14 of Edges and Sledges. So we've got co-bloggers DJ in London, Ashwin in Toronto, and I'm back in Singapore. We've done 13 episodes on the trot. And just in case you think that it's only IPL players who need a break, I think the fantasy players and the fans as well need time to recover. Although there's been a major void in our life. 10:30 p.m. I don't know what to do, so I walk around aimlessly. But there's always next year to look forward to. So, with that, quick recap. So, Chennai Super Kings won the IPL. Of course, DJ called it at the start. Ashwin, DJ, and I all predicted that one day before. And yeah, I think in Robot 3.0, I think Shane Watson will be starring in 2020 instead of Rajnikant. So I think it's all being set up quite well for a Chennai Super Special. But yeah, good finish to the IPL. Since then, we've had a couple of different series going on. We just wanted to cover a few different topics. So let's get straight into it. Uh, England versus Pakistan, the first Test series of the English summer. I have to say that Mr. Consistent was Mike Hussey, but I think the most inconsistent team is definitely Pakistan. They showed up in England. They won the first Test by 9 wickets. You saw Mohammad Amir kind of run through the English batting lineup. Similar story for England in terms of Joe Root making 68 in the first innings. I don't know. I feel like every time I watch Joe Root bat, he's always making 50s and 60s, but he's not going on to convert them to the big scores. So I think that's something he probably needs to work on. But so Pakistan kind of won the first game by 9 wickets. One other point I do want to call out is Joss Butler, right? He returned from 5 consecutive 50s in the IPL and hit I think a 68 or around that much, if I'm not mistaken, 67 in his first innings back. So kind of justified his position. But it really was a bit odd to see Pakistan come in the first match and blow England away. Since then, you had, Michael Vaughan kind of make some comments about the English bowling, saying that Stuart Broad and Jimmy Anderson have been playing for too long. They need to shake things up a little bit. And but yet everyone always remembered that Pakistan is not as consistent. So they were looking forward to what happened in the second test. As expected, in the second test, England bounced back. Stuart Broad picked up, I think, 3 or 4 wickets in one of the innings, kind of answering Michael Vaughan. And England ended up winning by innings and 55 runs. So, yeah, complete kind of two very lopsided scores. I don't know, DJ Ashwin, anything to comment? Any one of you guys want to talk about England Pakistan at all?
Yeah, I can just jump in quickly. I think for me overall, just a pretty horrible advertisement for the test format in general. Two matches tied at like a series ended at 1-1. Both matches ended in 3 days. So when you talk about the joy of for those of us who love the test match format and are trying to defend it and say there's a home for test, T20 and ODI, we've had some incredible matches over the last few years, but this series 1-1 and with no decider, both matches done in 3 days was just not a good advertisement for the game. So disappointed about that. I hope England, England's saved 5 matches for India, which is probably why they didn't have the room to give a third match to Pakistan. And so I hope that series coming up, which we'll talk a lot about, is worth it.
Yeah, so I just absolutely agree with what Ashwin said. It's set up beautifully for a decider, right? It's 1-1, two great games, two good bowling attacks. It's kind of swung one way or another. The other observation I wanted to make was that England seem to lose a lot in London. They win a lot outside London. They last Ashes they lost both the Test matches in London, the Lord's game and the Oval game. They lost the Pakistan Test match just now at Lord's. They've even lost a Test match to India at Lord's. So I don't think they do particularly well in London because they're kind of batting tracks and it isn't playing to their strengths. So that was just the one observation I had to make. But absolutely agree with Ashwin. Wish this was a slightly longer series to see actually how Pakistan and England actually competed in a three-test series.
Yeah, I think the only closing
Yeah,
thought
and
for me before you take it back is England is also very clearly working very hard towards 2019. I mean, we will towards the World Cup. They have made a choice for everybody from Adil Rashid and Alex Hales saying they're not even going to play red ball cricket, which we talked about a few episodes ago, to they're playing an ODI against Scotland. They're playing an ODI series against Australia coming up. They are very heavily investing in this bang bang cricket that is Joss Butler, Stuart Broad type of cricket at the top of the order towards their home World Cup in 2019. And so what that means for a nation that's historically been incredible at Test cricket is going to be interesting over the next few years to see how they balance that out.
Yeah, and so DJ, one thing. So in 2 months' time, the Lord's Test, I'll be there with you. Hopefully, that's good news, man. India will win in England, but Nottingham, we'll have to watch out. We'll have to probably be shouting extra in the stands for that.
Yeah, and we'll be watching Kohli score a double hundred, go up on the Lord's Honours board.
Exactly.
Who be taking another fifer to put his name back on the board again. So yeah,
absolutely.
Looking forward to the summer, man. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah, it'll be great fun. And Ashwin, you brought up an interesting point about the England-Australia. I think just yesterday some news was announced. It's not so much about what's happening on the field, but more off the field. So any guesses who's the new commentator? I was quite surprised when I read the headline to say David Warner to join the England-Australia series. And I just saw that he's going to be commentating. Ashwin, you read something about that as well, right?
Yeah, I was just concerned that maybe the microphones will get some sandpaper or action on them and the sound guys will be unhappy with him.
Yeah, so let's see.
Speaking of sandpaper, there was a comment in the press recently, wasn't there, by one of our favorite players, Nathan Lyon. So maybe, Varun, you can just tell our listeners a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think that was interesting. I think at Hove, if I'm not mistaken, asked Nathan Lyon if he's got sandpaper in his pockets as he was walking by, and he just turned around and said, "Nah, mate, just the ashes." So I think that was a pretty fitting reply from him as well. But yeah, so I think
Gary.
Nice, Gary. I think it'll be interesting to see how David Warner kind of comes into the commentary box. Does he talk about it? Does he address it head on? Does he not at all talk about it? I personally think that'll be quite interesting, and because they've started training again. And on that topic, I think Canada has got some of the big names coming up, and Ashwin seems to be smiling from ear to ear. Ashwin, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, aside from the fact that I'm from Toronto, and just like Delhi in the IPL, Toronto seems to have the worst of the 5 sides. But just quick back, which I'm disappointed about, but it is what it is. From a quick background standpoint, there's a privately organized, I think it's called the Global T20 Canada. It's hosted in King City, about an hour north of Toronto, and it's got 5 teams, one from Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, Edmonton, and Winnipeg. And I think there's going to be a 6th, but that's TBD. And I mean, fine, this kind of stuff happens all the time. But when they started announcing some of the players, I mean, just to quickly run you through, the Vancouver team has Gale, Russell, and Evan Lewis at the top of the order, with Tim Southee with the ball, and obviously many others. Montreal has Malinga and Narayan bowling in tandem. Edmonton has Chris Lynn at the top of the order, with opening with Luke Ronchi and Shahid Afridi to come down. I don't know whether to be excited or disappointed about that, but Afridi will be batting somewhere in the order. But also names like Mohammad Irfan and Sohail Tanveer, I mean, playing with Lynn. And then Winnipeg, just to round it off, has Dwayne Bravo, David Miller, and then, of course, David Warner. And with also Lendl Simmons and then Fidel Edwards. So some really marquee names. I'm saving the worst for last, but Toronto, their marquee pick was Darren Sammy, who seems to be revered pretty much across the world, but I'm not personally a huge fan. And then obviously they have Steve Smith. So also not personally thrilled about it. Good player. Steve Smith, Kyron Pollard, Kamran Akmal, and then a whole bunch of people I don't really know. So pretty disappointing to compete against Warner and Gale and these guys for me personally, but a really interesting league. So my hope is, they haven't released tickets yet. My hope is once they do, I'll be able to go see some of the games, maybe cover on behalf of One Tip One Hand there. But exciting to see, as a cricket fan based in North America, exciting to see them bringing more and more of the sport to this part of the world, and hopefully we can fill up the stadiums and justify it, so maybe they can carve out a time in the calendar for it annually.
Yeah, it should be pretty cool. What I'm most excited about, I think stadiums will fill up to see Shahid Afridi's last game, or second last game, or second to last game. Isn't he done by now, guys?
Let's just call it the Last Supper, because he's going to eat the cricket ball anyway.
Exactly. So I don't know how many times he has a last game, but it's always fun to see.
He's quite happy every time he takes the guard of honor and the salute, and then he comes back on and plays his last game again.
I think he's just enjoying this guard of honor. At home he probably doesn't get much respect or attention, so he keeps making a comeback on the international arena. So lots of exciting stuff happening in cricket. I'm going to pass on now next to Ashwin just to talk about the Bangladesh-Afghanistan series, which actually happened in India. So Ashwin, do you want to just do a little bit of a recap of that?
Yeah, so just quickly, there were three T20s between Afghanistan and Bangladesh, happened all in Dehradun. There were day-night matches. First thing, very exciting for both sides and the sport and the city. The stadium was packed for all three games. So maybe only in a country like India can two nations, neither of which is the home nation, playing fill up a stadium. But great. I mean, I don't imagine Afghanistan has played too many matches with filled up audiences. So really, really important for the game and for the future. What was also, I mean, ultimately the result that was the most exciting is Bangladesh lost that series to Afghanistan in a clean sweep. Afghanistan swept it 3-0. There were three T20s. In two of them, Afghanistan posted a total and the bowlers defended it. In one of them, Bangladesh posted a total and the Afghanistan batsmen chased it down. So, without getting into too much detail, the star of the series again was our Hyderabad man, Rashid Khan, who just stepped up. I mean, he defended in the final T20, he defended 9 runs in the final over while I think Bangladesh were only 6 down or something. So they actually 5 down. So they actually had decent batsmen at the crease, and he was able to defend 9 runs. He picked up 3 wickets in a previous game. So he's just on fire. I think he's having an incredible season, incredible year, and he's leading his team to beat Bangladesh, who was a test paying side long before Afghanistan was. So really exciting for the game of cricket. I think as on the one hand we reduced the number of teams in the World Cup, to see this kind of quality cricket happen in parallel is good, and hopefully it'll force the ICC to expand the game. So happy to have seen Afghanistan win.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Rashid got 2 Man of the Match awards out of the 3, and he got Player of the Series. So it's really quite incredible. But what was really cool was Harsha Bogle's tweet to Rashid Khan. I think he kind of said that it was, I can't remember the exact tweet, but he said it was quite something to kind of win with just 8 left in the last over. And the best part is Rashid Khan really showed us his age, right? Because to Harsha Bogle, who's 50 something, I think he replied saying, "Thank you, bro," with a full stop. And I think that was it. Of course, that followed with some really bad jokes about Harsha Bogle and that it was mind-boggling. But but that had to be expected.
I think you're the only one who made those bad jokes, actually.
Yeah,
true.
it was just you.
Okay, come on. Harsha Brogle was just genius. You guys just used to attempt it.
Yeah, it wasn't bad, but you were the only one making those jokes. The people got quite pissed about it, man. Like, people were like, how can he call this IIT graduate and I am man bro? He's just said thanks.
Such nonsense, man. Complete nonsense. But looking forward to the... Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying, what an over from Rashid Khan at the end. He needed to defend 8, and he got Mushfiqur out of the first ball, gave away a few singles of edges, and the last ball saw a stunning piece of fielding on the long on boundary where the long on field, I can't remember who it was exactly. Basically, Bangladesh needed 4 to win off the last ball, and it was going for 6. So this guy goes up, parries it in with 1 foot off the ground, but over the boundary, but off the ground, saves the 6 and the 4, and then Bangladesh have run 2 by this time. The long off fielder picks it up, throws it to the far end, and runs the batsman out at the striker's end. So Afghanistan win by 1 run. Shahzad, of course, then brings out the Nagin dance, and I'm pretty sure the Bangladeshis are now regretting ever having done that dance in life. Because they did it during Nidahas, they lost that. They did it during this series, they've lost this. And basically, Shakib was just looking shocked at the end of it. And Rashid, after his showing in the IPL, just shows that he's pure class. So now, I think you were just going to go on to the India-Afghanistan test match, which...
Yeah, exactly. It's a good segue because India-Afghanistan starts this Friday. It's being talked about only recently now. I think it'll be quite exciting to see it. What's interesting is Stanikzai, the Afghanistan captain, actually came out and said that we have better spinners than India, right? So I don't know if they're starting to play some mind games. I know Ashwin and Kuldeep Yadav and Jadeja are all in the squad. I think it'll be interesting for India because Rahane, who's in and out of the team, is now captain for this for this match. And I don't know if you all saw, it was Rahane's birthday recently, and Kohli actually wished him on Twitter saying, to the man who kind of gives India wins overseas, happy birthday, bro, and all of those kind of things. So it was interesting to see Kohli say that because, with the series coming up, it's almost like Rahane's got a place. But yeah, I actually think it'll be very interesting. I think there's no Kohli. Pujara's back from a county stint where he didn't do that well. Karun Nair is back in the middle. Let's hope he can hit 500 runs this time in the one innings. But but I think it should be interesting. And DJ, I know you've been reading up a book on the Afghanistan cricket. Do you want to share some of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so guys, this is The Corridor of Uncertainty. It's a book by Nihar Sathar. It says The Corridor of Uncertainty, How Cricket Mended a Torn Nation. So Nihar actually got in touch with us to send us this book. It was a few months ago. I'm sorry, I've been a bit busy at work, so I haven't actually managed to get through it. On this holiday that I was recently, though, I did read the book, and it is a stunning story. It's a really well researched book. It's a story of how Afghanistan basically started playing cricket, and it starts in 1992 when Pakistan actually won the Cricket World Cup, and it talks about the refugee camp that these players were growing up in, and they're watching the soldiers celebrate, and they don't know what they're celebrating about. And it kind of goes from there how Taj Malik and Allah Dar, two kind of rival cricketers, basically grew Afghanistan cricket from nothing. They started playing club cricket, then they kind of got a bit of support from the Pakistan Cricket Board. They got a bit of support from soldiers that had come into Afghanistan, how they dealt with the Taliban and all of that stuff. So it's a fascinating story. Definitely recommend a read. It's not, I'm sorry to say, the best writing in the world. So it's clunky in places, but I don't think that takes away from the story. So it's a well-researched book. It could have done with a bit of editing, but definitely worth a read if you're interested in how a nation which started playing cricket effectively in 1992 has gone from that to qualifying for a World Cup in 23 years and now become a test nation and beating other test nations. So it's just a fascinating story showing the trials and tribulations of a new cricket nation, including things like having to hike through the Khyber Pass where to deliver a letter by hand to the Pakistan Cricket Board, right? Because there's no mail going through between the countries because of all the anthrax stuff and all the kind of blockages that the US have put in place. So it's just a fascinating story full of lots of incidents like that. So go away, please have a read of the book. It's called The Corridor of Uncertainty, How Cricket Mended a Torn Nation by Nihar Sathar. So that's my little piece on that book, guys.
Awesome. And the thing with sports is everyone always loves the underdog story, right? These guys are truly the underdogs. They've done extremely well. They've come up, like DJ mentioned, World Cup qualification, etc. I'm personally excited. Part of the underdog story also means I'm actually quite looking forward to Afghanistan beating India in this test match, right? It'll probably wake up India. It'll be amazing for world cricket if they can. So I am actually going to be rooting for Afghanistan on Friday, 15 June. Let's hope they do well.
I'm actually hoping it's an Ireland-Pakistan story where they give us a bit of a scare, but we still win.
Yeah, probably. Probably, or if it goes on till day 4, I'll be hoping the same thing. But I definitely want to see them do well. All right, so comes to our last section for this episode. There was some interesting news recently, and a lot of tweets, a lot of comments, a lot of social media buzz. But Arjun Tendulkar has been selected to play in the India under-19 squad. And, all over there's just been kind of Tendulkar's son is selected, till actually people had to come out and say, his name is Arjun and he's been selected on his own merit. So, I think it's interesting. Ashwin, any thoughts on him being selected to play the under-19?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. His dad actually never did play any under 12, 16, 19 cricket because by 16 he was playing for the country and he was touring Pakistan. So this is new for him. I mean, I think there will be lots of it's never easy, right? I can't really think of too many success stories where a child has gone on to do what such a successful father has done. There are many cases where the dad was a decent level cricketer and a child went on to outshine, but any sort of legends of the game, their kids have never really done too well. I'm excited for him. He seems India could use some good left arm quicks. He's left arm. He's tall. He's a fast bowler. So almost in all three of those metrics, the exact opposite of his dad. So nothing to say that Sachin's been training him with the bat that has got him an edge. So I'm hoping he can, stand up and deliver, and the pressure doesn't get to him because it's certainly not easy.
Yeah, DJ, anything to add on that?
I think we should call him Jendulkar firstly. Junior Tendulkar. So he should be called Jendulkar. But yeah, I mean, the pressure in him growing up is going to be immense, right? Like having a father like Tendulkar. You saw what it did to Rohan Gavaskar. Kind of played one good innings of 50 in Australia in 2003 and nothing else. But it hasn't stopped other players like one of our favorite all-rounders, Stuart Binney, who has, as I was pointing out to Ashwin earlier, who's into his stats, the best ODI figures for India ever, beating Kumble 6 for 12. So, yeah, I mean, it's hard because everything Jendulkar does is going to be in the spotlight for the rest of his life almost. So it's a bit sad in some ways, but I mean it's got him the access to get into the under-19 team, and maybe it's just been a slow kind of cricket news week that this has made such waves. I don't know if
No, I
Kohli was
think
batting, making runs, then maybe he would have been top of the headlines.
Yeah, no, I mean, I personally think this would make headlines anytime, especially in India, right? But I think I watched the Sachin movie as well, and Sachin's wife or Arjun's mom actually says that I'm not going through this again. So if Sachin wants to take this pressure and bring him through it, that's fine. But she very clearly said that the Arjun has to live with the burden of his father's shadow, and Sachin has to take on the pressure of his son living in his father's shadow. I'm kind of not doing this. So that was interesting, right? When the entire family is just consumed for 25 years by one player playing cricket, it's interesting. And yeah, there are things that are lucky, like Sanjay Manjarekar's mother never had this issue, right? Like her son just went straight into the commentary box. So I think it's different. It's different for different combinations.
Sanju did score a few runs. He scored a double hundred in Pakistan. Nobody remembers that because his average is like 36 or something. Because he was a
Yeah.
technically
So
great batsman who did nothing.
his average in the 80s and 90s was 37.14, and his father's average in the 50s and 60s was 39.12. So,
Good
so
stats.
Quite a picture.
yeah, so Vijay Manjarekar actually has done better than his son. So that's interesting. But yeah, I think lots of father-son combinations, right? The Marsh brothers and their dad, Jeff Marsh, and today Mitchell Marsh, I think, is actually coming out much stronger than even Sean Marsh, which I wouldn't have predicted some time back. But he's coming out to be a real all-rounder. Any others come to mind?
Stuart Broad. Chris Broad, son.
Stuart?
Actually,
Yeah.
my personal favorite is Shivnarayan Chandapal and his son. I don't know what his first name is, but the
Taj
big thing with
Nareen,
that is
Taj
Tash
Nareen.
Nareen, that's his name. But they actually batted together in first class cricket. I mean, that's how long
And
Chandapal's
he
been
ran him
playing.
out.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
father ran the son out.
So that's my personal favorite father son.
Did he run him out, really?
Yeah, yeah. He ran
Oh,
him out.
man.
Like, beta, वापस जाओ. मैं नहीं out हो रहा.
Yeah.
Can you
You know,
imagine?
I read. I think the father made like 143, the son made like 120 or something like that.
Oh, nice. But is
Yeah.
Taj Nareen play for the West Indies too?
I don't think he's played
I,
for the
I,
national side. This was for first class. But maybe Sachin will come out of retirement to bowl some of his leg breaks just so he can bowl along with Arjun.
Yeah, but Arjun is also a batsman, by the way. He's an all-rounder, I think.
Oh, I didn't know.
So
I thought he was his
he's a
specialty.
left-handed. Yeah, I think he's mainly a bowler, but he's a bowling all-rounder, so he bats. But I mean, what better kind of subject to bowl at than your father?
yeah,
Like
exactly.
all day, every day, just get him to the nets, bowl to Sachin. Do you think he's ever got
Absolutely.
him out?
I think so, man. I'm pretty sure he must have. I'm pretty sure. We have to believe.
He must have
His
got him out.
favorite.
That's why Sachin is like, "Chalo beta, khel lo."
I think you can do this.
Yeah, you go get
But
him.
I think
Pick up a-
But I think just to wrap up on that note, actually, I think Saif did the best thing, right? His father was a great cricketer, Patowdi, and he got into Bollywood. So that's probably a little bit of a better combination. There's no comparisons from that perspective.
Yeah, but then Amitabh Bachchan's son, Abhishek Bachchan, he's now doing the Uday Chopra roles in these movies, man. In Happy New Year, he basically played that Uday Chopra wala role.
Maybe he
Same
should
one.
have tried to become a cricketer then.
Yeah, he would have been better
maybe.
than that at acting for sure.
And he's into kabaddi and all these days, but yeah.
Nice.
All right, guys. So I think that wraps up this episode. So looking forward to the 15 June India Afghanistan test. Looking forward to actually on a non cricket topic, the FIFA World Cup is starting soon, and personally, I can't wait for the new theme song to come. It's only like 4 days before, but I haven't seen the new theme song. Like Waka Waka is still playing in my head.
Yeah, it's 2010, dude.
Yeah, exactly. That's a long time back.
We're now
But
showing our age. That's what's happening.
yeah, no, but I think for guys in Singapore and this part of the world, first time the timings will be decent. So yeah, looking forward to both cricket as well as the football World Cup. And we'll catch everyone next week. So thank you for listening in and watching. Do follow us on Facebook. Check out our podcast, I think on Anchor. And we'll be back next week. Thank you, guys.